in Vancouver, one of my favorite cities. And it's getting cooler here, Christopher, so it's not over 100 today in Texas. I would like you to give a warm welcome to Christopher as he gives our presentation for today. Welcome.
Hello, it's Christopher Rozitis here. And if you don't hear me talking, I guess for about 10-15 seconds, I've accidentally turned off the microphone. So put that maybe in the chat area, or somebody grab the microphone and indicate that they cannot hear me. Okay, so where we go? Oh. Sorry, hang on.
That's okay. There you go.
Okay.
I guess it.
So we're looking at how I engage students in my online classes. And I've been teaching for nearly 20 years at the high school level, science, math, computer classes. And for the last 6 years, I've been teaching online. And the school I'm at is a year-round school where we have continual enrollment and students exiting the classes. And I'm just completing my PhD in instructional design for online learning, and hopefully the dissertation's in committee right now. I'll find out next week where I stand, and hopefully be all done in the next month. So here we spent a few minutes ago telling us about you, and so maybe we'll just take one more minute if you haven't filled this in. Want to know what you teach, what grade level, are you online, blended, face-to-face, and are you able to edit your courses? And where I'm at, I have full control of what goes on in my class. I can add things, change things, add quizzes, take away quizzes. I have full control over everything. So we got high school math and science, computers. So that's great. That's where the direction I'm going to be going with. I've had people in English and social studies in my session. So those people, I'm going to, if at the end, if you come up with some ideas of how to engage your students in your classes by them creating learning objects, please let us know. So we got a few people on the bottom right here that say, looks like most of us can edit our courses, but few cannot. And we got mostly online, some face-to-face, great. So high school French, bonjour. So as Barbara said, I live in Vancouver, right over here in Canada. And right now, I'm checking the temperature, 66 degrees, or if you're Canadian, 19 degrees Celsius. So it's actually very, very nice this time of year in Vancouver. And if you were ever going to visit, then this is the time of year you'd want to come. I grew up in Vancouver, and hang on, circle. And this is the area that I grew up, live, work, and a family of 6 siblings. I'm basically the only one left here. I grew up in this area. I live here now. I've worked in a number of schools throughout Vancouver. And the school I'm at right now, the online school, we have an office way out over here. And so here's our agenda, what I'll be talking about. I'm going to show you how to engage your students by having them making learning objects that can be used in your online classes. These will be activities you'll be able to use in your classes right away. And these activities that I have, I get the #1 response, or the students like doing this more than anything else in my classes. And so what is a learning object? These are small units of learning, usually 2 to 15 minutes in length. 15 minutes, I think, is a little bit long. They're self-contained, are reusable. So students can use them over and over, or you can use them from one class to the next. Can be aggregated, can be grouped together into larger collections of content, including traditional course structure. And they can be tagged with metadata, so they're easily searched for. Object-oriented teaching. So I'm going to be jumping back and forth if I see something in the chat area. I'm not too sure what you mean by that, but if you give us a few seconds here, Charles, I might be able to answer that. Okay. Actually, last time I did this presentation a few months ago, I knew one of my colleagues was doing her master's, and she would have lots of questions about what about the research and background. So I spent a few hours trying to find some research on how to support this. So I'll just spend a few minutes on this. So the greater the student's involvement or engagement in academic work, like in coursework, the greater of his or her level of knowledge. Engaged in the tasks, and to really understand what the concepts are, the students need to be engaged. And I found this an interesting, 31% cited lack of interaction with teachers as a primary reason for classroom boredom. And this is, when I first started this 5 or 6 years ago, I had a lot of complaints from the face-to-face teachers in the teachers that I work with, saying, why are you teaching online? You're taking students away from the classroom. And my gut feeling, I think if the classroom teachers were more engaged, the students wouldn't be leaving the classroom in the face-to-face to come into the online. So that's just my gut feeling. So I don't have any data to back that up. So in our discussions, in our courses, it shows that it promotes active learning. So what we need to do is have the learners engage by collaborative and cooperative learning techniques. And so in my classes, I don't have any group work, but I'm going to show you how they actually work together to give each other feedback on their projects. And I don't have any group work because I have continual enrollment and continual exiting. The students are working at their own pace. So I've got students who complete this course in 6 weeks, and I've got other students that take up to 12 months to complete the course. So it's hard to set up groups in the model that we have. Students are really concerned on how they be assessed, and that's really, I'm quite sure that's also at other schools also. So they want to see the feedback. They want to see how they're going to get marked. And so I build that into my lessons. And this is one thing, I guess, students, how do I explain this? Because I'm making them show their work in progress, it's not perfect at the beginning, and therefore some of them aren't going to be actively engaged, and so that's a hard thing. So if students are thinking they're making mistakes, they might not be actively engaged. So that's one thing I have a hard thing of getting the students working. What else? So here's a study. It's more, I'm dealing with grade 8 to 12, so teenagers. And so here's a study from 2007, but this is adult learners. And what forms of interaction do adult learners value most in a self-paced online course? And so they came up with a whole list of things, but the things that I'm going to be looking at is communication from the instructor, instructional presentation, and supplementary media, instructional media. And you can see there's a whole list of items there. This is the top, and this is the bottom. And here's I guess we polled our own students. we got like depending on the type of year up to 3,000 to 6,000 students, and we polled our students, and we had 566 or over that, nearly 600 students participate in this survey. And I find, and the question for this one here is, I find that the following tools helps me learn. Please choose all that apply. And you can see that students, they like the online discussions, they like the online quizzes, simulations, online educational games, and the highest here is the videos. So this is a poll that we did just last February, and what I've been doing in my classes for the last 5 or 6 years actually, I guess, supports what the students want. Any questions? I'll stop here for a second. Okay. Still talking. All right. So examples. So these are examples. I don't use them in all of my classes. So what I have is in our online classes we have a tool, a glossary tool, and I didn't have definitions and learning objectives, and our government puts out, these are the items that we need to know for each class and each grade, and these are the terms that they need to know. So I didn't have that set up in my class, and so what I had the students do is they had to come up with definitions for each of the words, and so I gave each student 3 words out of the the 200 that they needed to know. So they had to write out the definition. They had to find a picture, and then they had to find a video from YouTube that would help explain that definition. And with YouTube, and you can set up the coding, and where even though this video says 3.5 minutes long, maybe there's only like 10, 20 seconds of talking about acidic acids, and so therefore you can set it up so it starts playing at that point. All right, and so I've started that. What's the next thing that I've done? Oh, what I've found is I'm trying to, I don't know if it's just me or if it's your classes, that the students will just jump to the assignments and not even look at the content. Is that maybe with the check mark? That's a yes if that's happening with your classes, or if it's no, up in the participants area there. If you're finding students are not looking at the content, and they're just going right to the assignment. So what I did, so this is like the background of my courses. This is where we create our quizzes, and we're using Desire to Learn, and I mean all the learning management systems have quizzes. So what I did is I had students make up questions, and I have questions from the content pages. I have questions from movies. So content, I said this student is in charge of section 1.1. The content only come up with 1 or 2 questions, multiple choice questions, and another student was in charge of the movies on that page, so they had to come up with questions, and then another student went out, okay, here's the topic, go out onto the internet and find a question out there and make it multiple choice. Okay? I don't think, you could also do true and false, but I haven't done that. So, and the other thing I've done with my quizzes is I've let them write them as many times as they want. And because I got, well, not so many questions, but they're always random every time they do that. So I let them write the quiz as many times as they want. I give them as much time as they want. I know other teachers, they only let them write them once. But my idea is I want them to go look at the content, look at the movies, and look at and make sure they understand the concept, so it's not just once. Where's my next slide? Okay, so this is sort of a page, and if we look on the far right, this wasn't here 5 or 6 years ago, and it's just getting better and better. And so basically the pages just had text and pictures, and that's all there was on the pages. So I started adding videos to it. I went out to, oh, actually what happened before that, these are YouTube videos that I've downloaded and embedded into the class. And our school went and, or the district went and bought, I guess, a license for these websites to have these to use these videos for a year. And so after 2 years, I mean, I spent hours and hours embedding all these videos into the course, and after 2 years, the school district decided they wouldn't renew the, I guess, the license for the video. So I spent hours and hours to embed the videos and was not able to use them. So what I did after that, I went out to YouTube and found videos that would deal with the topic on the page. So velocity, and I found videos on velocity and graphing. And however, the students weren't, I guess, watching the videos. They were just, again, as I said, they were going to the assignments and just answering the questions on the assignments that were good for marks. So what I did with this, next page, is I had them, and with each of these items I'm doing, they're not all doing the same video or the same section when they're making the quizzes. They're each getting a different video. So what I did is they had to come up with an overall question for this video. They had to make a timeline of the video, and then they had to make a multiple choice question. And so now with most of my videos in this class, and it's still a work in progress, is they have an overall question, what they should be looking for in this video, a timeline. So if they needed some help with acceleration, they could actually just scroll to 43 seconds and look at acceleration, and here's a multiple choice question. So students have created this, not me, because this takes a long time to do. Okay, so here's the progress. So as I mentioned before, my pages were just had the text and some pictures, and that was it. So I added some practice questions, and then I gave them the answers at the end. And then what happened was I would get lots of emails. Well, how did you get 7.4 kilograms for this question here? And so through the answer key out of the textbook, I would just send them the image, and still not enough. Not enough. Students wanted to know why are we using this formula? Where did this 140 come from? How did you get? So that wasn't enough. So I would make screen capture videos, email, go on Illuminate or Blackboard, collaborate, and help the students. So that took a long time. So what I did is I had students create videos on how to solve that, and that's a big project, and that's what I spend most of my time doing, because when I first started teaching online, I was just a marker and not working with the students. And so this is a picture that was in the course that the students would read. That was when I got the course, and it was a lot of reading, and they didn't understand, so they kept sending me a question. So what does this mean? What does this mean? So what I started getting the students to do is creating videos on how to solve this. So I'm just going to show my first version. Yeah, here it is. So give me a second to set this up. This first video I'm going to show is a couple minutes long. So I've not received them. Do you want to continue? Hopefully it's going to work.
Oops, I think we lost Christopher. Here, he's back.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, and yes, we can hear you, and that played well the whole way through. So.
Okay, so I was kicked out, or I don't know. Were we able to see the video?
Yes, all of it. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to hopefully show you the second video and the second thing. And what you notice with that first, that was my, I guess, version 1.0. A lot of information on the slide, and I guess very distracting. So let me just, hang on, I got to figure out, everything closed out on me, so I need to go to my window. Just give me talking to myself, that way you know I'm still here. So I'm going to show, so you're going to look at the second video. And I'm really anal, and with all these projects, I got certain stages, and you don't go to the next stage until you get like 100%. And so hopefully this is going to work, and I don't get kicked out. So Barbara says, some participants have not completely received this media. Do you wish to continue? Do I want to click continue?
Everybody, as long as they were on a hardwired connection, I would think would have gotten it because it played all the way through on my end. If this did not play all the way through, could you put a red X up under the check mark?
It doesn't have to be played all the way through, but it I just want to show what the difference between the first, I guess, version 1 and here's version 2 by another student, which was done a couple years later.
And I would tell you, go ahead and close it. You're okay.
Okay, let's try it out.
Yeah.
I guess it's loading, or there it goes. So I'm going to, I've closed the video, and what you'll notice with the second video, it's like using an overhead projector where not the whole slide is showing at the same time, and it's focusing the viewer on certain parts of the video on the previous slide, and the students are using PowerPoint or Keynote or OpenOffice to create this, and I'm going to show you quickly on how they did that. So I'm going to share my desktop. Let me get things open first to make sure everything is working. Hopefully everything's going to be working. Is this what I want? Okay. So I used to have students use, hopefully I'm sharing my screen top, and you see PowerPoint open, and just resize it. Move some things around. And sorry, I used to use Jing when I first started having the students create these videos. And this, I think, was before the iPad. And Jing exports SWF files, and so that won't show up on the iPad. And also, I wasn't able to upload onto into YouTube. And therefore, I guess a few years ago, as Snagit and Camtasia, and I see, thank you, Barbara, and I'm trying to look for things that are free for students to use. And so I'm directing students to use Screener right now. And so what I have, so the students, actually let's work backwards so if you can see the PowerPoint. So what the students will do is, I'm just going to go to the last slide right here, is the students will create this last slide first and make sure all the science is correct, all the math is correct, and before they go, because you can see the PowerPoint is over 20 slides long, and you don't want to, I guess, create that and find out afterwards that there's a mistake. So the students, what they would do first is create the PowerPoint, this slide first, make sure everything is correct. And actually, I was watching the video again last night, and I noticed there was a mistake. And I'm noticing right here there's a little mistake. So I can't remember, was that 1.0 seconds? Okay. So I want things to conform, so I want everything, all the videos to be the same, so everything is in Verdana. I want little space, this is me being anal, little spaces between the numbers and the units. I want, and this person use the equation editor, so the fractions are on top of each other. This question doesn't really need it, but a lot of questions they need here. So with the fractions, I do not want the fractions to look like this. What else? And I do see one mistake here, and it's too late, and I missed it way back when she made this. She put a 0 here instead of a letter O, but I'm going to let it go. So they'd make this first, and then they would put it in the discussion area for other students to give feedback. And once they get 10 out of 10 on this, then they would go make the multiple slides. So here's the first slide, and here's the second slide. And you notice that this top area here is grayed out, and then go to the next slide. And so the student is focusing on this, the viewer is focusing on that. So it's a little bit of work. It's going to make it a little bit smaller. And the original images, they just went out onto the internet. And sorry, looking at questions, and I'll get back to you a second, Richard. I'm on a roll here. They just went and grabbed any pictures on the internet, and I let them do that. Now, make sure they're copyright free, and I send them to a website, and I'll show you in a second where that is. Also, we put the I can't think of the name of it right now. We're down here in the bottom right-hand corner. The Creative Commons. There it is. And so they put that in there. In the original videos, I had them put their names down here so they would get credit, but I've taken that away. So they work on that now to make. So actually, the whole project probably takes about 2 weeks to do. By the time, this is not an assignment where the student starts right now and thinks he's going to submit it at the end of the day. This is probably 5 to 10 hours, depending on the questions they get and what level of understanding on the technology and the science. So it takes 5 to 10 hours to do over a couple weeks. And so we got the PowerPoint done. And they're 100%. So what we want to do is only record the slide area. And so I get them to go to screener.com. And I've already logged in, so they have to make an account. So what they do is hit record. And This is the #1 technology problem I have in my courses. And the technician at our school doesn't like me so much because I keep sending them over to get help. And it depends on what version of Java, whether on a PC or Mac, or what browser they're using. So hopefully this is going to work. It's loading. Okay, so this is one of the things, and I'm using Firefox here on a Mac, and so I need to accept the risks. So I let it run. And cross my fingers it's going to work. If not, then I'll open up a different program if this is like it was working this morning. And we got one technician or a technician and a half for like 5,000–6,000 students. All right, so this is not, so a screen usually shows up. It's free, and that's why everything I use is free for videos under 5 minutes, which is I like, because I know out of the hundreds of videos the kids have made, there's only been 1 or 2 that have gone over 5 minutes, and they've had to make 2, and it forces them to be quick. And there's other one, Jing. I like Jing, but the free version, from what I understand, only makes SWF, and it doesn't play on the iPad and doesn't upload. So I'm going to stop this because it's not working. Let me just close this. So I'm just going to, same type of thing, same idea. So what happens, so I'm using Snagit here, and what we do is the same thing as Screener. And so what we do is just put a box around the slide itself. And so I'm going to leave my microphone off. If I might get feedback from talking to you. So it's just recording around here. And what I've noticed right now is that I'm not on the first slide. So I'm just going to hit X. So I'm just going to go back to the first slide. And I'm going to, so I'm just going to hit, so I'm going to hit record. My microphone is off. So these all do the same thing. You know. I don't want to use, how do I, okay. So we're going to hit the record. It's going to give me a 3-second head start. So I'm recording right now. And if I notice that I'm going to sneeze or cough, then I can hit the pause button. And if I totally mess up, then we just start all over again. I hit the, or I guess, redo the recording. Okay? And move from slide to slide. All they do is they can use the little arrow. They can click here. What I like about this is that they can actually use their mouse to point to things. You notice that with the students. And they go from slide to slide. And they work there and they keep going. And then they would, once they're done, they hit stop and the program, or of course, let me just minimize this, but in screener.com a new screen would open up and you could be able to preview it, download it, put it up to YouTube. And so that's how you make the video. The other thing that I'm a little anal on, and it's not on here, is like, is with a lot of the science equations, and I'm looking, let me just go down the last slide here, see if it's, I don't see anything. So a lot of the times the spell checker will not like this or this, so they'll get the red underline. And so what the students need to do, let me just make a spelling mistake here, they need to ignore the spelling mistakes, or else in the video it will be red underlined and it will distract from the viewer. Okay, just close that. Let me get out of here. Am I out of here? back to my desktop. Are there any questions about screen capture? I'm looking on the...
Yes, I can hear.
Am I still talking? Can you hear me? Okay, good. Okay. Hang on, let me get my, where is it? No, where's my... From moving slide to slide, okay, let's go here. Okay, so we showed the one of the problems I have is this Java control, and so, I mean, I'm a Mac user, and so I make the students go into Firefox, depending on how their Java is set up. I'm not a PC user, and if somebody is a PC user in this presentation, and if there's something similar, they can maybe just put it down in the chat area. So I just throw that in there. So this is the steps for creating the learning object, and this where it doesn't matter whether they're making the quiz, the glossary, the videos. Each student is going to receive a different learning object, a different glossary term, different page in the content for the quizzes. They're going to get a different video, so not everybody's creating the same thing. And so what they're going to do first is create a one-slide presentation. Hang on, where's my little pointer? Yeah. And just to make sure, as I said, is that everything is correct, all the spelling and the math or science is correct. And then they're going to put it in the discussion area of the course. And then I get them, the students are giving feedback. I do not give I do give students feedback, but I don't put it in the discussion area. I send them an email or a private discussion just because I don't want the other students seeing my feedback and just copying mine. And they need to give feedback to 2 or 3 students. So I like them to start with a positive comment. I like the fact that on how to help them. I wonder if, and the next a good step might be, and so they need to go big. And so here's an example of one. I like the fact that you made all the X red. So we started when I first started doing this. We never had color, just black and white, because the equation editors 5 or 6 years ago didn't have the color. Wonder if this isn't to do with the presentation or the PowerPoint I just showed, is a different one, but anyways, you get the idea. I wonder if you can make the whole equation straight up and down. It might be easier to follow. And the next step would be to color the things you're trying to cancel. So if this is more science stuff. So at the end of when you're doing the fractions, when you're canceling, is to color in the crossouts. So this is an example, and so students give this, and then what they do what I do is to save time with me is when they put in this first slide or they make the first discussion, a email goes out to them. We use in D2L, it's called Intelligent Agent, where an automatic email goes out, say, hey, thanks for submitting your presentation, your one-slide presentation. Now go and give feedback to 2 or 3 other students. This is the format that I want it in. So the system, the learning management system, sends out an email automatically to do that. Then once they get feedback from other students, they get feedback from me, I email them. I might set up a Illuminate if there's like major problems. I'll probably fix up their PowerPoint or fix up some of their spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes and get them to resubmit it. Because it's going back in the course and we want it to be like 10 out of 10. And then so they resubmit more feedback and we keep going back and forth until we get 10 out of 10. And so then with the movies, how are we doing with time here? I think we're almost done here. After they got the one slide and everything is okay, then they go create the multiple slide presentation. Then what I get them to do is they present it on Collaborate or Google Hangout or etc. So for me, it's more there. I set up times once a week where I'm available. One week I do it during the daytime. Next week I do it in the evening, and then that way I can catch more mistakes if there are more mistakes. And this is just for when you're doing the step for the screen capture video. And the next thing is they make the screen capture video and then they submit it. And what I like about this, there's no editing with the video. If they make a mistake while they're recording, they just start all over again. And I find this is, even the ESL students, English as a second language, do very well. And so here are my guidelines. I give them some examples. I want to make, because it's going back into the course, I want all the backgrounds, font sizes, all to be the same. I got the students, the superscripts and subscripts. It drives me crazy when I'm not too sure what the key is, a little up arrow, whatever that one, I'm looking for it on my keyboard. I can't. The one above the 6. I don't like them writing a 1/2 like this. I like them to do it like this. I think this is easier to read. Little spaces of me being anal here, spelling correct, put in the Creative Commons. Oh, here's open clip art. I've sent them to this website, but here's a tiny URL blog that I just looked at the other day, which has a lot of other places for grabbing free images. And then the thing I have to do at the end of the video is, I think who's doing it for us? Joe, is I actually make them write out a script after they make their video, because YouTube is good at doing closed captioning, but not that great. And then I upload the script when I upload their video into YouTube, so the closed captioning works a little bit better. I make sure that it works on Macs and PCs, the assignments that I'm doing. The software, and I thought I added one more. So I got what's neat with Keynote is you can actually, without even using Screener or Snagit, you can actually record your presentation, but the problem is you can't use your mouse to point to things. Where's next? I would like to get some more interactivity into it. So HTML5, but I don't think the students are there, using Captivate, but it's not a free project software. I just got, I can't see it. Let me just, hang on, let me just change my mouse. I just got an email the other day. Hang on. I just threw this in this morning and trying to make it bigger here. edpuzzle.com, and what you do is, I guess you upload your videos to their website, and this is just a picture, but if you go to edpuzzle.com later, and you play the video, and then at these certain spots there's questions where the video stops and you need to answer the question. So same thing, this is, I think right now it's free. But the problem is you're sending students outside of the learning management system to do that. So, and then the students, you set up an account and the students would sign up and you can see what answers they would put in. So that's kind of neat to do that. I see my son playing Minecraft. I mean, some interactivity in there and creating iBooks. Questions. I'm going to stop talking here for a second. We are using Desire to Learn, but I think we're going to be moving on to Moodle. We've got a new principal coming. He really likes Moodle, so I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm making sure that everything I create right now can be transferred over into whatever learning management system we're going to be using. Captivate, that's a Joe CP is Captivate. For Adobe, makes really interactive learning objects. The middle one is iBooks. So there's a lot of interactivity you can create in iBooks, but the problem I find with iBooks and the Edpuzzle is having students going outside of the learning management system. A different login name, different password is a big, at high school level, is a big hassle. So I'm trying to keep I mean, there's some of the stuff that I do force them to go out, like to screener.com, but I'm not going to have them look at content through iBook Author or Minecraft right now. But I think the next thing is the HTML5, more interactivity. No, I guess
I agree, Richard. I think this would be awesome with special ed and ESL students and all of them. Just a wonderful presentation, Christopher. I do want to make sure that I tell y'all a couple of things, and then if you still have some questions, by all means. Christopher, were you finished?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to go over a couple things, especially because he had so much information. I really want to make sure that you know that you can save both the chat and the his entire slide presentation by going up to File and go to Save, and the whiteboard will save his presentation. The chat will save the chat. You need to do it separately, but if you want to save those two items to your computer, you can do so. Also wanted to remind you that this recording will be available tomorrow and then ongoing through July 2015, so that if you know someone else that would like to see it, or if you feel like you need a refresher, because he covered a lot of information, you're more than welcome to go back and watch it. You will receive CPE credit for this automatically, attending the live session, but if you attend a recorded session, you'll need to fill out the form to get the CPE credit. And Richard also asked me if you watch part of it and then watch part of it again. If you go to any classes and you miss the entire thing or you miss a part of it, absolutely go watch it on the recorded session. Anyway, I really want to thank you, and I'm so jealous about your temperature up there. I can hardly stand it. But I think you did an awesome job, Christopher. You gave me a lot of ideas that I was not aware of, and just a wonderful job. Thank you so very much.